Evening, folks. Well, I was having a discussion at work about the latest alleged terrorist attacks in London, and there's just a couple of points I'd like to make. Number one, when somebody calls an attack a false flag, that doesn't mean to say people haven't died and there hasn't been an attack. That's not what it means. What it means is that an actor, e.g. the state or the terrorist group or some other foreign intelligence agency or somebody like that, has organised the attack. And innocent people get caught up in that and killed. And that's sad, disgusting. But as we all know, there's lots of psychopaths in this world who are quite happy to kill innocent people for political ends. And I was having a chat with somebody at work today, and I think I probably said that, and he was saying, oh, it's these bloody Muslims. Well, you have to look deeper than that. Yes, okay, it was Muslims, but that doesn't mean to say that every Muslim is a terrorist, and it doesn't mean to say that Christians are without guilt in certain periods in history, or anybody else for that matter, you know. But you have to look at the deeper into what's going on. You know, it's splashed all over YouTube today. CNN staging that Muslim protest, you know, and there's actually film of them organising the protesters and telling them where to stand and all the rest of it, you know, and that is proper fake news, something that they're always accusing everybody else of doing. And you have to ask yourself, why is stuff like this going on? Why are news organisations making up news? Why it's all quiet, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days before the election, we get 2 terrorist attacks, and then, you know, you can bet your bottom dollar that there won't be any straight after the election. But I just wanted to say that it's not all Muslims. The reason we've got so many Muslims in the country and foreign people in the country, I'm not going to say foreigners or Muslims, you know, because I'm not a racist person. But the reason we've got so many people in the country from foreign lands is because they've been encouraged to come here. And we all know this. Why have they been encouraged to come here? Well, there's a good reason for it, and it's called the Clergy Plan. If you haven't heard of it, Google it. And it's what the European Union's based on. It's also what most of the other Western governmental organisations are based on. It's the hidden secret behind the European Union and the British government and everything else. And the Clergy Plan basically says that you're going to break up nation states by flooding Northern Europe with immigration, so that they can implement a one world government. And this is what the Paris Climate Agreement was about. It's about taking money from poor people in rich nations and giving it to rich people in poor nations to level the playing field. And if you actually look at the levels of wealth in this country, you'll see that's true. 89 people in this country own 50% of the wealth, and the lower down the chain you get, the poorest people in this country have actually seen a drop in their relative wealth by 0.3% in the last 5 years. So So, their plan is going great guns. Mr. Trump seems to have thrown a spanner in the works by withdrawing the US from the Paris Agreement. It's nothing to do with climate change. That's been debunked. That's just a joke. And that's designed purely to strip rich nations of wealth, to level the playing field so it's easier to manage a one world government. And it's the same with our military. David Cameron signing over our military to the French in 2009. You don't hear anything about that, do you? What else? The collapsing economic system. You don't hear anything about that. You don't hear anything about them wanting to bring in all these new regulations about encryption, so they can not only will you lose all your privacy, but you will lose any kind of security that you've got in the banking, and they'll do away with cash. And then if you happen to step out of line, if you happen to criticise the government, or you happen to not agree with the government or whatever, then they'll just stop your money. Your bank account will just be frozen. Well, just like that. And they can do that now, but it'll be a damn sight easier when they've got access to all your encrypted communications and that. So you've got to look at the deeper story. All these people from North Africa that are being encouraged to come here, a lot of them, around 3,000, are fully trained jihadists that were either trained by us or one of our allies. Have finished the fight over there and coming back here. And now that the Russians and the Syrian army have nearly cleared out Syria, we're going to get more of them coming back here. But of course they're on the payroll, so they're not going to attack over here unless they've been told to attack over here. That's my point of view. That's what I think. If I'm wrong, that's fine, but I don't see any evidence that I'm wrong. I see lots of evidence that I'm right, and I just don't know. It's all going to end in tears, obviously, because it's all building up to a crescendo, isn't it? You've got Germany getting closer to Russia. Whatever happens in the next couple of years, I'm sure that we will. And I keep flip-flopping on this because things keep changing, but I'm sure we will leave the EU, and it's going to be an acrimonious leave. They keep saying, "Oh, we want billions of pounds off of you for this, that, and the other, and we're going to screw you over anyway, and you're not going to be allowed to leave," and all this crap. They've already stopped any kind of negotiations because the EU is saying, "Oh, we're not going to negotiate on anything until we sorted out the single European market and free movement of people, and that's what we voted to stop." So basically, the EU is saying, "Well, we're not going to negotiate with you until you've basically told us that you're going to bend over and take it out the backside from us." And Theresa May's done nothing to stop that. She's actually said, "Oh, we're going to make all European laws into British laws." Well, if we were going to break from Europe, then it would be the other way round, wouldn't it? She should have said, or would have said, if she had any intention of doing it, right, we're going to knock all these EU laws on the head. We're going to because you've got to remember, once we leave, if we ever leave, I'm sure we will, but the point being that all these laws will be null and void anyway, and if they do put them into UK law, then we'll be bound into any changes. So Brussels decides that we can't, we all got to have pink bananas, then that's what we'll be having. And that sounds like a simplistic way of looking at it, but it's true. So let's hope there's a big change on the 8th. But I would like to see a landslide of independence, personally. A real destruction of the two-party system. And a takeover of Parliament by people who genuinely want to do the right thing for the country and are just not on the internationalists' payroll, because they're going to take us into a socialist state. But we're already in a socialist state because we're in the EU. But once they've got us in good and proper, and most other countries in the world, then it will turn into a communist world dictatorship. Whereas we're only in a socialist European dictatorship at the moment. This is what National Socialism was about, which is commonly known as Nazism. So we're in a Nazi dictatorship at the moment in the EU, and our politicians want to keep us in it. And when we're eventually ground down or given away to that system completely, which, let's face it, we've got city mayors now. That's part of the European Union plan, to break up nation states, and then you've just got city mayors. And you can tell it's a globalist plan because look at the city states in the US that have turned around and said to Donald Trump, screw you, we're staying in the Paris Agreement, and they're city mayors as well. So you can see it's a globalist plan. It's not about some Muslims, having a scrap here, there, or everywhere, or us bombing the shit out of some poor civilian somewhere over oil. It's bigger than that, and they've got to be stopped. Let's face it. I mean, do you really want to live in a police state? We're not far from that now. We've had troops on the streets in the last few weeks. Now they're talking about flooding the country with armed police officers. They've had, all this campaign about take a nice photo of yourself with armed policemen. Like your nice cuddly armed policemen. And there might be nice guys, but there's always that threat they're going to shoot you if you say something wrong or do something wrong. But there's no need for it. You look at the photos on the internet, or if you see them in the street, policemen used to wear white shirts, and they were police constables. Now you've got privatised police, and if you don't believe me on that, then you just do a bit of digging. Companies like IBM own police forces in this country, and this is why they've all changed their badges, they've all changed their uniforms, because they're no longer constables, they're officers, corporate enforcement, and now they're giving them guns, so there won't be any oversight. And if one of your relatives gets shot by the police and you try and sue them, they'll just say, oh, you'll have to claim on the corporation's insurance, and then you'll just be in a battle with lawyers. You'll never win. So this is where we're heading, folks. So think about how you're going to vote really carefully, and just one other thing: if you don't know who to vote for, then just go along and spoil your ballot. I don't mean scribble on it or rip it up or anything like that. I mean, go along and write your objection on your ballot paper. And there's two reasons for that. Take your own pen, so they can't rub it out and fill in the box themselves. Second reason is that after when the ballots are counted, any spoiled ballots have to be read out to the candidates. So if there's thousands of them, you can imagine how long that would take. So you can show your opposition by basically saying none of the above. Like I said the other day, Brewster's Millions, watch it, it's hilarious. And so I think that's about all I've got to say, really. Just be careful what you wish for, and be careful of demonising one section of the community, because we're all human beings, you know. Some of us a bit more misguided than others, but that's no need to lower yourself down to their standards. I like to think this is still a Christian country with some Christian values left. There are a lot of good people left in this country, and a lot of people don't believe the state bullshit. So just stop and think. Just stop and think. Anyway, have a good evening all. TTFN.